That's what it's all
Where was
about,
you,
man.
where was you born and raised?
Okay, I was born in, shall I tell you the hospital? At Hammersmith Hospital. So I was
Yeah.
born in Shepherd's Bush. Um, West London bound, and then moved to Acton, and then moved to Hayes when I was a young boy. Hayes is very near Heathrow because not everyone knows where Hayes is, especially my friends from other parts of London. Where's
Yeah.
Hayes, bro? Where's Hayes? That sounds like country. It's in fact when we moved there, a lot of our family thought we moved to the country, but well, they call it Greater London, But
Yeah.
yeah, that's where I grew up mainly in Hayes, actually. So
Um, what music was playing, knocking around at the time when you was growing up?
oh God. Well, in my
That's country.
household, because I come from a Caribbean background, both my parents are from Grenada. So in the household will be a lot of reggae, soca, a bit of soul, and we all loved our pop music. We all tuned into Top of the Pops and listened to the top 40 rundown, and coming from that Caribbean background as well, it's a thing where you do get a lot of country being played in the household as well. Not so much jazz. Didn't have any
No.
jazz in the back in the growing up. It was more country, but mainly reggae, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Grenada, the island of spice. I've been there. It's a nice place.
Oh, okay.
It's a nice little island. I like that place.
Yeah,
More
it's
to the
very
fact of
natural. It hasn't been messed with too much. It hasn't been overly
no.
commercialized or anything. So a lot of
I, I,
greenery.
yeah, it's nice there. So right, what got you into producing?
What got me? Well, I was always interested in music. I mean, as a kid, I loved hip hop and electro, and back in my little body popping days, it was all good fun. But during school, um, I used to go into the music room and like mess around, and used to go on the drums and just beat the drums, and I'd go on the piano and just like play like more one finger notes and just mess around, but never really took it seriously. Um, but it was the thing where I was always interested in music, but just never took it that seriously. So, but what happened? What was the catalyst of me going in that direction? Was when a friend of mine in school, I think was I in sixth form or fifth year? I was towards the end of school anyway. My friend was supposed to take me a Public Enemy album, Bum Rush the Show. I'm showing my age now, and
Wow,
and
good
he didn't
album.
record it. Yeah. I recorded my voice on there as a little instructions. Oh, if you can put it this on this side and that on B side. And he annoyed me because he didn't record the album for me. He sent me back the tape with my voice sampled and messed around. But I like had to go at him on the bus, like live, But it was a thing where I said, "How the f did you like do that to my voice?" And he said, "You know what? Come to my yard, and I'll show you this keyboard that I've got, and that does it all." And when he showed me, like he gave me a mic, plugged it in, and I put my voice in there and played back my voice back on the keyboard, and that triggered something. And I went out and got a very similar keyboard, a little Casio thing. I've probably got it lying about in the studio somewhere. Actually, that's where it all started. Started making tunes on that. Plugged it into like a little twin cassette tape recorder, and would sample like break beats and stuff like that, or anything. And then I'll play a bass line or play chords and stuff on top. And and it just went from there. And then eventually I went to a music store and said, there has to be an easy way to record. And that's when they showed me a computer. So I remember Paul Hardcastle being on stage on Top of the Pops with a computer. And I thought, what does he need the computer for? I never understood. And I asked like friends and relatives, why do they need the computer for? And they said, well, I don't know. Looks good on stage though. When they showed me sequencing inside a computer, I got something else went inside my brain as well. And I thought, you know what, I think I can make like proper records, because if it's that easy to lay a track down like that, then you go on track 2, lay a bass, and go on track 3, a little drum, and go on track, and that's when my head started spinning. I thought, you know what, I reckon I can make some tunes, like when you just get a certain feeling. And eventually, went in the Loot newspaper and found like a secondhand Atari guy selling Atari in that. With a Cubase,
Wow.
cracked version of Cubase and a floppy drive, and the guy showed me like how to use it quickly before I got it off him. and he'd made a few tunes that I knew as well. So it was like, you know, it was all good. You know, I think it was like more hardcore back in the day. You know, before jungle, so it's like hardcore. So yeah, so I got that, and I got like a keyboard, and that's it. Just went from there. That's
so
all started, man.
So prior to, we'll get on to the garage thing. Did you make anything prior to that we don't know about?
To the garage records that I've made, you mean that you know?
Yeah, prior to that. So prior to the garage scene that we're gonna go to. Did you make anything prior in the hardcore days or the jungle days?
Yeah, definitely. What happened was I didn't have any releases though. I was always experimenting with hardcore. I think I started around the same time as like Liam Howlett and these guys. You know, the guy that made the project.
Yeah,
that's right. And I remember him buying like a Roland W30, and you can do everything, sequence, sample, and I thought, oh, I wish I had something like that. But I just sort of like, with my little minimal equipment, I was just putting ideas down, and I still went to a few labels, and they liked the ideas, and obviously it's very underproduced, but they said that, you know, what was he using? And I showed them this little tiny keyboard, and they like didn't believe me that I made it on that, and that gave me a lot of encouragement. And as time went on, I bought, well, actually, it was a gift from my parents. They bought me a Roland JV80, and I used that with my Atari computer, and I sequenced, you know, a few tracks. I didn't have a sampler, so I didn't have, like, when I say I didn't have a sampler, that little toy thing that can only sample for literally a second and a quarter.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a professional sampler, so I programmed my drums from the keyboard, and it was very thin and very cheesy sounding. But the ideas, the chords, and the bass and everything are recorded, you know, off the keyboard. So what happened was I approached a few labels, and one of them was Moving Shadow. And Simon and Sean actually was very interested, and they actually Simon and Sean are the Two Bad Mice that helped run the label, just in case the listeners don't know who Simon and Sean is. I'm sure many do. And they really liked my sound and liked the vibe, and they said, you know what, you're very melodical. We'll definitely have you work with like Omni Trio and stuff like that. So I thought, cool. And they said, look, you need to, you know, do this and do that, make some adjustments to your track. And then I kind of didn't send them any more stuff, and then X amount of time passed, and you know, and I kick myself now because I really wish that I did release some stuff on the label, because it's legendary. And I just re-released a new label called Overshadow, as you probably know.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously nothing to do with Rob Playford, but you know, interestingly, you were speaking about Blame earlier. He actually said you should hit Simon up. That I should hit Simon up, because Blame's a lovely guy. And he recommended that I do that. But yeah, so I did make a few, you know, jungle, and you know, I've got some stuff on that. What I might do is like maybe put some stuff online, you know, and see what people think. I mean, that's if I feel brave enough. If I listen to it and don't think it's great, I might not upload it. But you know, there has to be one or two that I might like to
well, you know what? You can always send it to me, and I'll remix it for you. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
I was joking. It's ironic because you know, Blame's from my neck of the woods, and I didn't realize, you know, I don't want to sidetrack. And when I interviewed him, he's like, the track took me 4 hours. And I'm like, you can't make music take you in 4 hours. That's virtually impossible. And he's like, I did. That's all I had the money for. And I'm like,
yeah, you only had a short window to go in the studio. I didn't have money for studio back in the day. That's why I saved up to get my little bits and pieces and have the studio, so I can experiment and develop. I don't know if I could have done that, gone in the studio for 4 hours. I would have been panicking. Like, imagine like you got half an hour left and you've got half a tune down. You smashed it though. 4 hours, legendary tune. And I remember back in '92 when I was raving, like Fantasia and all them sort of raves, I was like, that tune was just like proper hands in the air. Like, you know,
he's just crazy, because he was like, you know, Sil, he actually had me in hysterics, because he's like, yeah, Sil didn't want to do the vocals because he was doing the Batman soundtrack, and I'm like, who does this, man? Who does this stuff? I was just like, it's you know what? It's so good that like everyone's created this scene and everyone's hands on, and they can make tunes, killer tunes like this. You know, I've had so many people on interviews and they're like, oh, I made that track in like 6 hours. Or, you know, I had Gus from 4Hero. He said he made the Tom and Jerry records in 3 hours. I'm like, they're sought after records, man.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
can you make a tune in 3 hours? It's like you've got to be like, you know, yourself and everybody else, like, you know, you've got to do this thing. So, you know what? We're going to sort of, we're going to push forward to the garage scene.
Mm.
You know, some of those tunes, I know we were speaking off air before. But you know, I'm going to let you explain that part of it now. I hope you don't mind. So, like, start like from the Brandy and Monica was an absolute killer of a tune.
Yeah, so 97 speed garage was quite predominant. I was messing around with that kind of music. And then what happened was there was a friend of mine, my friend from White City. He had a friend who linked us with a guy called Dermot. Dermot did the merchandising for Goldie, and then he introduced me to Trent, who's Goldie's manager. So they had an office in East West, so we was always in and out of the East West building visiting those guys. And Dermot kept talking about this guy called Ashley. Oh, he's Ashley. He's a good songwriter. Blah 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 blah. And a lot of weeks passed, and he wasn't really doing anything for me. So he was just having these meetings and stuff. And I thought, well, can you just give me Ashley's number? Maybe if I just hook up with him and maybe do something. And he goes, sure. He gave me the number. My friend didn't turn up in the end, and he kind of sort of went in the background, sort of fizzled out. And but anyway, I met him in Ladbroke Grove, where Ashley lived, and we hit it off right away. And he said, I've got this track called "Show Me the Money" that he's written, and he needed some help, you know, producing it. So he came to my studio. We started working on that. Whilst we were working on it, his younger brother, Paul, who's also known as Trelo, he came round with, well, the story goes, I didn't go into detail on the last thing, actually. He came round with the Brandy and Monica American imported version, because he had the British version. And you know what British singles are like? They never have a cappella in it. You know, the Americans, they're a bit more entrepreneurial, think a bit, you know, differently. So he brought round that single to me, and he said, do you fancy doing a remix of it? It's got the a cappella on here. He done a little sneaky swap with one of his uni friends, because he had the British one, she had the American one, and he done a little cheeky swap with the CD. So we ended up doing a remix of it, and you know, this is before audio. We had audio, so I had to map it out on my keyboard through the sampler. So I had to, you know, chop up the vocals, and that took forever. Like the technology we got now, you just drag and drop the vocal on your track, and that's it. And you time stretch it or time compress it if you need to speed it up or slow it down according to what tempo you want to work at. So anyway, so I laid down the drums. Ashley was very particular about the drum sounds that we chose, and you know, it's and then Paul put down the bass line. And anyway, when we got it together, Ashley thought of the name Architects, and we went with that, and we thought, yeah, that was cool. And we approached Craig Kalman, you know, Brandy's guy at East West in America. And long story short, they kept passing the buck. So we thought, you know, let's just get it out somehow. We found a distributor to do that, and it's, you know, been selling ever since. I don't know how much it's sold now, but you know, tons apparently. And that was literally the kickstart of my, let's say, professional career then. And you know, very soon after that, I left my full-time job, and you know, and I remember knocking at East West, and you know, I couldn't get past reception. But as soon as that Brandy Monica mix was out, oh, you're the guy that did that. I was in, you know, so I started to get offered remixes, all that sort of thing. But the thing is, I had to kind of almost start from scratch with my name, because we went our separate ways, and I had to continue with my name. So I used my initial and middle name, which is K Warren. So then I done the Something in Your Eyes remix. So I just got sent the vocals, Shelley Nelson's vocals. And because Ed Case done the original with Shelley, and they needed a remix package. They sent me the vocal, and I done my thing with it, and I thought, this is such a great vocal, because I love her voice, and it was such a big chorus. So I thought, yeah, let me do this string build up, so you know, a nice sort of tension build up. And and just like this double bass kind of drop, you know, for the chorus, and
Yeah.
and that really works, and that became like the main version, and then I met up with Leo. We met through a mutual friend because I was working in East London for about a year. I was like living up there with this guy, this German guy, and there's a couple of us actually, and we worked in the basement studio, and nothing really materialized out of that project, but I got introduced to Leo through him, and me and Leo hit it off straight away. And in fact, we're still friends to this day, and it's you know, the first track we done was Coming Home, and then we ended up getting that signed to Go Beat. If you don't know Go Beat, Gabrielle was signed to that label, and you know, they're an affiliate of Universal and Polydor. So yeah, we had that put out. That got to like number 32 in the charts. And then I've done the track with Richie Dan, Call It Fate. Call It Fate was made like very quickly as well. I know you said like, you know, some of these tracks were made in a short time, but that was made really quick. He came in, we got introduced through a different mutual friend, and he, because Richie was from Leeds originally, and he came down and been living in London for a few years, and you know, he was more in the reggae scene, and then he entered the garage scene doing a track called Over Here, as you probably know. And then anyway, got introduced. So then he came round and he sang the tune to me because he'd already had it written in his head. And I remember he was actually his ex-missus was Mr. Motivator's daughter, actually. And she told me that he'd been singing it for ages, like when he's in the bath, Call It Fate, oh, what you want, like he'd just been singing that for ages. Anyway, so he stood in front of me, in front of the keyboard. I already had sounds there, like I had some like a drum kit there that I'd made, and like had my like a double bass sound, and he started singing it to me. And as he sang it to me, it was like an instant thing, dum 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 dum. And I didn't even think of changing it. It was just instant. It worked. It felt right here. And I just ended up building the rest of the tune. And we got that out. We actually nearly signed to Public Demands, and then we ended up signing with Pure Silk in the end.
Wow.
Yeah. And
that's a good tune, mate. That tune, like, you know, that's quite a simple tune as well. If you listen to it, it's a simple tune, but it's effective, and you can see the damage that it done.
Yeah, I mean, some people say that I had a distinctive sound. I mean, I've never really thought about it, but I suppose. The thing is, I think when you understand a genre quite well, then you know the parameters to stay within, and you can kind of experiment and do your own thing, and kind of, you know, and kind of pivot around and put your own flavor to it, you know. But you know, but I did like the two-step sound. I was making 4/4 stuff before with the, you know, the speed garage stuff, but you know, I do love the two-step sound. I just love funky beats because I was always into hip hop and electro and stuff when I was a kid. So when in London, obviously East London, Smiley and PJ, Shut Up and Dance, they was very experimental. They started speeding up the breaks and taking samples from Duran and shit. This all kind of, you know, really experimental, and I loved all of that. Like I've got one of their albums, I've got a few of their tunes, and Ragga Twins. I've got their albums.
When they done that,
I love great beats. I love funky beats.
Yeah, I didn't realise when they done that. They said they done that Save It, because I've got most of their stuff here. When they done Save It to the Morning After, I think they said it was featuring Duran Duran or Simon Le Bon, because it would come out on Pulse 8. That tune did. So,
okay,
you know, them guys, Shut Up and Dance. You know, I had MC Duke on here, the UK rapper. He was telling me all sorts of facts. This is why I bring you guys on, because not only you know, everyone will know you for that.
Very quickly before I forget, they actually did a remix of Coming Home. They won under the name of Hackney Soldiers. Just a bit of trivia for you.
Ah, okay. This is why I have you guys on, because you know, there's always stories behind yourselves, the people I have on, because you think you know everything, but someone always brings something different to the table, and they always go, yeah, I'm linked to so and so and so and so and so and so, and this is why the reason why I do it, so they get the background of you, and you know how you got there, instead of going, oh, you know, what change did you make, blah de blah de blah. Right.
Yes, I think it's always nice to hear a background, and and everything sort of makes sense. I mean, a few people have been saying, oh, you're making drum and bass now, what have you left the garage? I said, "Well, I haven't left anything. I was making drum and bass before garage, actually, but no one knew because I didn't have any releases before I, anything official. So, and I make a little bit of house and everything as well. Also make reggae. I've got a reggae track on Spotify, actually.
Sweet.
Kojo, a guy called Kojo singing it. Yeah, I mean, I love all different sorts of music, and any old school person that's listening, I actually, because my uncle was in a band, he was in the Pioneers back in the day, and he tells me stories as well. Like he went into a room and Bob Marley and the Wailers was in there, and he couldn't really see anyone because everyone was burning weed hard and there's like bare smoke because he opened the door. He actually didn't really see anyone. Some interesting stories from him, but I mentioned him because he was also so he's in the Pioneers and he had his own band, but he was also in the band that made a tune called Grenada May God Bless You in the Caribbean. That was like a massive tune, like in the 70s.
Wow.
We actually done a remake of it in the 90s, and that's what they usually play now in in the Caribbean communities, and they usually play our version. But the guy that did like the ragga bit on it, because it's because we updated it and everything, he kind of put it out himself on CDs and didn't even mention any of our names and stuff. And that's another story. But, I thought, how much money to really make it? It's just, I don't know, them ones. But yes, I mean, I have made different styles of music, reggae, soca, house, hip hop,
And you know what? It's not a bad thing to turn your hand to different things. And I think, if you got the brains and you've got the equipment and stuff, you'll be able to do it, because that's Gus Lawrence was saying the same. Before he was even with 4 Hero, he was signed to 10 Whisper's label or something. He was doing some mad stuff before 4 Hero, you say. So it's not a bad thing that you're touching this. And
he was Sat in Storm as well, right? Sat in Storm was him as well, wasn't it?
I don't know, mate. I don't want to say yeah. I don't want to say no. It might well have been, because that guy was saying all sorts, man. I was like, I was just flabbergasted. This is, as I say, this is why I have these interviews. So not only is it for me to know more about the scene, and for the people that are watching. So you know what I was just going to say about this thing? I was going to say Benny V, that Jive Turkey. Only joking, Benny V, because I like Benny. He's a good guy. And I spoke to him. I was supposed to get him on here for an interview, and he was huffing and hawing and stuff. But it's cool, big up Benny V. So I know you two have had a track out together, haven't you?
We've had a few bits and pieces on an American label, and we've got a track out on Jungle Cakes as well. This track that we've actually got a tune coming out tomorrow. It's a tune that we had out on his own label, Dance Concepts, called No Evil. And I actually, just for a little mess around, I thought, oh, it's Halloween, let me have a little play around with it. And I end up doing like a little remix of it, and just use it just to put up on social media. Benny heard it and he said, why don't you finish it? I really like it. I thought, okay, cool. And I finished it, and it's going to be released tomorrow.
Wow, well, there's a plug, guys. So, there you go. Yeah, he's another one that when I looked at, I'm sure he was on the tribute to Stevie Hyper D, weren't he? Buffalo Soldier.
Yeah.
I didn't realise. I was flicking through it the other day and I was like, that's got to be him. That's got to be it. Because he's been in the scene for a while, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think his label just had a 21st birthday, actually. So,
wow.
Yeah,
he's a good guy. So, I know you've got that thing coming out. Is there any other stuff that you've got coming out?
Well, actually, I'm looking for a home for a garage track that I've just done with a guy called Jay Mackey. This track is actually a cover of Bob Marley's Redemption Song. Redemption Song is obviously one of his album tracks that is just acoustic. But we turned it into garage. He actually sung, because obviously no singers could come round because of restrictions and all the rest of it. So he sung it in his own yard, and I think it was, I don't know what he used to record it, but the quality wasn't great. But it's all we could do. I've done my best with it, and it turned out quite well, and we've had some really, really good feedback. So because of the sentiment of the track, I just wanted to kind of keep that emotion in there. It's nothing like the original, obviously, apart from the vocal and the vocal melody. But the music's totally different because the original is just an acoustic guitar, you know. So yeah, I'm looking for I want to get that out as well. And you know, there's another garage track that I did with a guy called J Mac, very similar name to the other guy, J Mac, and Ruby Dan. Ruby Dan's had a few drum and bass releases and stuff as well. So Ruby Dan, he's so we done a track called Tell Me, and you know, that I need to find a home for that single as well. And that had it's got some nice saxophone and stuff in there as well. Nothing like Call It Fate saxophone. It's the kind of a different saxophone going on in that. But yeah, so I've got some garage bits coming out. People that say, "Oh, you've left garage now." Well, I've got 2 garage records coming, so don't worry. But I love drum and bass, always have done, and I love jungle, and I loved hardcore. Hardcore days were my best raving days ever. 91 and 92, definitely my best raving years.
So much stuff released back then.
It was magical. There was a vibe in them times. I can't describe it. It was a different vibe back then.
Yeah,
and then it was magical. I can't really.
I remember Goldie saying, like, he went away to America and he come back and he was at, I think it was Heaven the Blue Note, and he looked out and it's before it become exclusive, and he's like, he'd never seen so many Creed and Colours raving together where they'd be killing each other, but the rave scene sort of binded everyone. Yeah, which you know what I saw for myself. You know, where you know, racism took a very bad knock in the mid 80s, early 80s, and you know, this and that. But I think jungle, drum bass, hardcore, garage, I think it's brought a lot of the racism out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think music's you know, good music, people coming together is, you know, it's good for that. Music is a unity thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, growing up as a young boy in the 70s and 80s, I did experience a lot of racism coming from a multicultural area like Shepherd's Bush, and then moving to Hayes, where I was like really in the minority. You know, and this my primary school and secondary school, I did take a lot of shit. I really did. You know, but yeah, things have got better. I'm not really into football, but I did enjoy football as a kid, and I wouldn't dare go to a football match. I really wouldn't. You know, but you know, I went to like a local, like, you know, down the road where I knew people anyway. So, but yes, music brings people together, and I love that. And you know, you mentioned the Blue Note. I mean, we used to go down there. Me and my friend DJ Ricochet, or he calls himself Steve Ricochet. And yeah, so we would go down Blue Note, and it was because we loved the music so much. It wasn't even we'd go down there to check girls or anything. We just go down there purely for the music. Yeah, have it, and like, you know, whoever was on, whether it's Groove Rider or Loxy, whoever. It was you know, it was great times. I just love that music.
Stuart said he'll take you to Arsenal one time, Kevin.
It'll be a good experience to go to a football match, because I've never actually been to a proper big football match before. You know what? It'd be an experience, you know.
You know what's really funny is because my early teens, I worked at Wembley Stadium, the whole complex. I've done the stages for them. I never watched one scrap of football. I'm not a football person. So you know what I mean. So look, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Any sports at all, or? Any sports?
Nah, not really, mate. I'm one of these. I'm one of these. If I had a pair of glasses, I've got a pair. I'll just sit and listen to music and read up on music all the time. That's all I do. I drive my wife nuts, mate.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Right. The only thing I do is play tennis. That's it.
Oh no!
I don't like watching sports because it bores me. I'd rather participate than watch other people have fun. I'd rather be on the court, you know, smashing a few balls. And apart from that, I've either bought a new plug-in or I'm trying out new things, and it's a forever learning process, and it's just amazing. When I last spoke to Blame a few days ago, I was saying, "Oh, try out this synth, man. It's just, you know, it's a new one. You got to try this." You know, we just get excited about stuff like that. We're like a child on Christmas Day. You know, when some new technologies come out that is going to either make your music making experience easier, or it's just something that, you know, enhances or whatever. It's, you know, we're like kids at Christmas. We really are. It's just the best thing in the world. People should find exactly what they love doing and do as much of it as possible.
Exactly. You know what? I did offer blame because I'm from Edgware, Northwest London. So he's originally from there. So I'm like, dude, when this is all over, I'll come and pick you up, because ironically he lives near my sister up in Dunstable. And I was like, mate, I'll come and pick you up. I've only been past 2 years. And he's like, oh, I'll leave that one, thanks. He's like, I'll get my own way down there. So I think I'm gonna go and see him after Christmas. Right. Listen, who do you rate as one of the best DJs? Across any genre. Sorry, this is gonna be a hard one. Might be.
Who do I rate as the best DJ? I don't have a best DJ.
Or a good DJ, like someone who you like. Wow, he's a good DJ.
There's a few, but I'll tell you what, I just want to mention that, you know, because you know that I've been raving from obviously since 90 onwards.
Yeah.
When Groove Rider used to come on, we always knew that his first tune that he'll drop will be something that we've never heard before, and we'd always be looking forward to hearing what Rider would play.
Yeah.
So Rider for me is like legendary. You know, Fabio and Groove Rider, of course. But when Groove Rider would come on, we'd think, yeah, he's going to drop something. And when he drops it, we'd be like, me and my mates would be looking at each other thinking, oh my, what is this? Like, he's just dropped a new joint. And we're like, we're going crazy. So for me, like, Groove Rider is like a legend, you know, for me. Because he was playing hardcore, the music that I loved when I first started, like, properly raving, right up until now. You know, so,
yeah.
You know, it's probably not the best sort of like beat matcher wise, but, you know, because there's DJs that are so great technically, like DJ Hype. And obviously Hype scratches and stuff like, you know what I mean?
He's on a different level, man. That guy's real crazy.
But you know, I saw it in an interview once, and they said he used to put like a weight on his hand, and then like, that's how he used to practice. And when you take the weight off, he will just be that much faster.
That wouldn't surprise me, because he looks like that type of person. You just look at him, you just like I remember seeing him in the Paradise Club in Islington one day, man, and I was laughing so much just because he was using the up and down fade. Like, I'm laughing at this geezer going, this geezer's crazy. He's and even more to the fact now, doing it on CDJs, you know, I can just about work CDJs, let alone scratch on them. Like, he's real crazy. So I'm gonna say one more question and then we're gonna wrap up, mate. Biggest place you've done a live PA? Biggest crowd?
Oh God, there was an event actually. It was a really big crowd, but I can't remember the name of the event. But oh God, and I think it's televised as well. I honestly can't remember, but a lot of there's a lot of big PAs that night as well. But I remember being quite upset that night because they wouldn't let my people in. That the security was terrible. Like, oh my God. Yeah. And he treated me like, you know, I said, I'm one of the artists. Like, I need to get my people in and I need to get ready and blah, blah, blah before me and Leah go on stage. And they were just like, you know, anyway. But I remember the other biggest one, I guess, could be UK G Fest, perhaps.
Right. Okay.
That was probably the second biggest then.
Right. Stuart was like, remember where you got your first gig? I've actually got the poster here because I was on the flyer with you in the Hendon, the gallery. Stuart said that.
Who's Stuart? Just kidding. Sorry, Stu. Yeah, so, but you know what? A lot of people thought I was always DJing, but I never was DJing. I was always in the studio just making records, and then I'd go out and I'd PA. Me and Leo, we went to Iron Napa, never DJ'd. Well, apart from playing the record, playing the backing track, and then Leo would sing it live, and I might cut up the track a little bit or whatever, but I never properly DJ per se. But a few years later, through my mate F Swift, he introduced me to Styler, and you know, and Styler actually gave me my first gig.
Yeah, he said that earlier. Was speaking. So right, just I need to say this because before we go, I've got to say rest in peace, Leon Chu, because you know the sudden sadness of the dubplate master that he
Yeah.
was. You know, R.I.P. You know,
You cut some of my tunes as well back in the day.
yeah, he's done a couple of mine. I'll message you after because I don't want to put it on air or say nothing because it will cause controversy. What you long story. Yeah, got a big up Wookie. You know, out to Jason, out to Paul as well. You know what I mean? You know, sad times for the scene because he literally, when I see the amount of tributes that have come through, it's just like I think it shocked everyone. So. You know, R.I.P.
Only 45, wasn't he?
Yeah. So you know, right.
I just want to say very quickly, actually, since we're on that, is that for people that don't know, because you know that I talked about Ashley and we made the Brandy moniker together, and they went off and had a hit with Body Groove, Ashley and his brother. Well, Ashley actually passed away 9 months ago. He passed away in February. Wow. You know, which is really sad, and you know, my heart goes out to the Akbar family. It's you know, people need to look after themselves. We need to take our health more seriously because people say, you know, let's just eat what you want. You know, like you only get one life. Yeah, but whilst you're, you know, in this life, you know, your family and the things you love doing will be put on a back burner if you don't look after yourself and put the right, you know, the nutrients in your body. It's like we've got
100%.
You understand? Yeah. So. We need to do that. We really need to make an effort and eat better.
Yeah, definitely, mate. You know, there's things out there that you can have and stuff. So you know, you've got to take care of yourself in this day and age, and especially when you get a lot older, because you don't do you know, some people don't do a lot of stuff. They don't take vitamins. They don't do this and they don't do that.
I'm drinking a smoothie right now, actually, but I normally make my own smoothies because I didn't have you know anything to eat. I just quickly grabbed something, but. Yeah, I make my own smoothies and I also make vegetable juices as well. If you follow me on my social media, you might see me making one as well as being in the studio making tunes as well. So can I say my Instagram and everything? Well, everything is at K Warren Music, and it's got a K at the end instead of a C. So music with a K at the end. So
And you know, K Warren, he's only 21. He's only 21. This guy, he's not as old as he makes it out. Right, I'm going to end it here, mate. Thank you ever so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on,
so much. It's not a problem, mate. Do you know what I mean? You know, there's a lot of you know, there's a lot of history there, what you've told us, and I hope everybody goes away with something that they can. But I'm going to speak.
Do what you love. It'll up the quality of your life. Don't get stuck in the mundanity of your daily life. Do something you love. Don't give up your decks. Don't give up your studio. Don't give up your whatever it is. Things that you love doing. Don't give it up.
I'm going to speak to that Jive Turkey Benny V. I'm going to send him another message.
Get him on, man. Get him on.
I'm going to. I think he was a bit sceptical when I said, and I was like, mate, I'm going to say, you know what? Okay, Warren done it, man. You're going to be left out in the cold, mate, if you don't know it. Because I've got Mr. Black Market coming on next week as well. So
that's right. I saw the schedule. Oh, he's a great guy. I love Nicky Black Market. Quick story before I go. Back in the day, obviously before the garage days, when I used to go up Black Market, and I used to you know, have conversations with Nicky and Ray Keith, and they used to, and Danny Bookham as well, and they would come into my car, or I would go into Danny's car, or whatever, and I would play tracks, and these were like, you know, in the jungle days and stuff, and so I did get a lot of encouragement because when these guys gave me good feedback, and you know, from them liking my tunes and stuff, it was it's always good to get good feedback from people in the scene.
Definitely,
and all that sort of, you know, gave me the confidence, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I'm literally, when it comes, I'm going to try and reach out and get I'm going to try and get Ray on here because I've known them two guys for years, and I've known Nick. He's like a friend of mine because I used to go out every weekend because he used to live around the corner from me when I used to live in London.
Oh, okay.
So I know Nick very, very well. So, right, Kevin, thank you ever so much for coming on. You know what I mean? Thank you ever so much, mate. Stay safe. I'm going to give you a PM after this. All right.
Okay, cool, man. Take care.
It easy, brother. Thank you for coming on.
No problem. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye.